Do we have a motion?
Motion to adopt the committee sub.
There's been a motion by Senator Thayer. Is there a second? Second by Senator Chambers Armstrong. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed?
It should be right behind 193.
It's in your folder behind 193.
We're going out of order, so it should be
Yeah, it's at the bottom.
very bottom. Well, I can make that.
We can have that.
I know,
So-
I have some.
Of course. So this has been amended by the committee sub. Senator Adams, welcome to AG. Glad to have you here. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Julie Rocky Adams. I represent Senate District 36. You want to introduce yourself for the record?
I'm Michelle Lawson. I'm the founder of Kentucky Animal Action, and I'm a constituent of Senator Adams.
So we are here today, and this is a very simple reorg bill of the Animal Control Advisory Board. I filed this bill a couple of weeks ago. I thought it would be important to kind of have it out in legislative space for a while to understand if there were going to be any comments or opposition to it. And surprisingly, there was no opposition. We did receive one comment from the veterinarians, and we incorporated their suggestion. And really, what it does, it just simplifies and lowers the number of members on the Animal Control Advisory Board to make things a little bit more efficient.
Second.
Why do we need to downsize the advisory board?
We do have, sometimes they have quorum issues because the number is so large. And so we're just taking it from 2 members of each organization to 1 member.
Can I have another question, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman? Who is Kentucky Animal Action, and why are they singled out for, I know, but who are they and why are they singled out for representation as the only entity that's specifically named in the state?
Sure, I will let Ms. Lawson answer that question. But before, part of what this fund does is they distribute dollars that come from the spay-neuter license plates. And so we thought it was wholly appropriate to have a spay-neuter advocate on this board.
Well, respond. I think there's 3 names will be submitted for spay and neuter advocates submitted by the KBMA is a portion of the bill already. Is that correct?
Sure, yes.
Thank you, Senator Webb, for your question. I would like to say, so I've seen this board for a long time, and you know, I always have the license plate, and I'm boots on the ground. We do transports every Saturday, hundreds of dogs going to other states who don't have an overpopulation problem because they have figured out how to manage overpopulation. So we send a lot of dogs north. And being boots on the ground, I think of spay-neuter, and maybe this is good, maybe this is bad, but I think of spay-neuter every single day. And I just really want to help shelters that I work with all over the state have easier access to this funding. I work with a lot of shelters and I see the struggles, and I would like to help them get this funding.
Senator Thayer, I believe, has, I'm sorry, Senator
Just
Thayer,
a
I believe, has a
follow-up,
question.
if I may. And what happens if something happens? I mean, I've got a little bit of a problem specifically naming an entity, any specific entity on a board like this. Because if something would happen, I'm not that familiar. I'm for spay and neuter too. My son transports dogs and yada, yada, yada. But I also have some issues with the cottage industry that it's become, and taking our dogs and taking them up north. And sometimes people profiteering from an underbelly of rescue that exists. But nothing against your agency, but I have a hard time singling out an agency to represent on this board specifically. If something would happen to you, or the entity would change, or let's say you would get in legal trouble or something like that. I mean, I just have a problem with specifically identifying a particular and I'm a rural legislator.
And-
so, it may not, your world's a little different than mine. And I just have a hard time singling out an entity at this point.
But we, I want the members of the committee to take note. We single out the Kentucky Farm Bureau. We single out the Kentucky Association of Counties. We single out the Kentucky Houndsmen. We single out the Kentucky League of Cities. We single out the veterinarians. That's who nominates somebody to be on the board.
Thank you, Senator Thayer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for bringing the bill. I have a question for you. Is your organization a nonprofit organization whose mission prioritizes spay and neuter advocacy for companion animals?
No, we prioritize animal welfare and unity and education and awareness. So we would only be in the bottom appointment, not in the one appointed by the KVMA.
I think that's what Senator Webb is getting at, is we just need to clear up some confusion to make sure that the organization that will eventually come out of paragraph 3, item C, is not duplicative of the one in H.
Correct.
So the Kentucky Animal Action does not fit the definition under subsection C.
That is correct, and I would be happy to share our mission with you if you'd like to see that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Webb, I believe you have another question.
I'd like to see it because now you've raised even more questions in a welfare scenario, or who you might be affiliating with and their agenda and mission.
They are not affiliated with the Humane Society of the United States.
Well, there are several other entities that have the same agenda and protocols, so I'd be interested in receiving that information as well.
And I thank you, Senator Webb, for bringing that up. A lot of times any animal welfare advocate gets associated with a national org just right out of the gate. And I particularly founded Kentucky Animal Action so that we would be our own entity. We have no affiliation with any national org. And I would ask you to please grant me a meeting with you, and I will come, and I think you would feel really good about it.
My door's always open to everybody, but probably the HSUS.
So like I said, Mr. Chairman, this bill has been out there for a couple of weeks, and all Farm Bureau has expressed support. All of the entities have not expressed any consternation. We did receive one comment from the veterinarians, which we incorporated into this. So, and you know me, I would never bring anything that was even remotely controversial. I think this is a peace and love, just a general reorg that will allow the Animal Control Advisory Board to operate more efficiently and effectively with the funds that they are charged with dispersing.
And I'd like to add that I've been to the ACAB meetings before. Everyone there is very professional. They do their job appropriately. We're just asking that you allow adding 2 members who pretty much live and breathe spay neuter all the time. It's one of our main initiatives, and we'd really like to help get that further dispersed out. And it will also help counties and shelters with budget relief. Overpopulation affects budgets in a horrible way, and if we can help get some of these funds out there and get the population under control, I would like to help with that.
Thank you. I think we have one more comment, and then in interest of time, we may need to move on. I believe Senator Wilson had a
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Senator Adams, for the bill. My question is, you said this is for spay-neuter funds being distributed. Is that the only thing that the funds can be used for?
If you look in section 1 of the bill, the Animal Control Advisory Board, it says it's created for the purposes of evaluating applications for and reviewing disbursements from the Animal Control and Care Fund, creating training programs and other duties related to animal control and care in the counties of the Commonwealth. That's their mission, and that still stays exactly the same.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. There has been a motion and second on it. If there's no more discussion, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Chambers Armstrong, Senator Boswell, Senator Carpenter, Senator Deneen, Senator Givens, Senator Thayer, Senator Webb,
Explain my no vote.
Go ahead.
The Animal Control Advisory Board does have other functions, and that is training of animal control officers. And I've seen their trainings. I know who their sponsors are. I've actually thought about legislation to tighten up the training protocols, that they be more ag and ownership friendly. And so that adds another layer of concern to me. And again, I just have a problem with singling out a nonprofit entity in Louisville to speak when you have 3 other spay and neuter advocates submitted by the KBMA. I just think I just have a little indigestion with that, but certainly have some indigestion with the training protocols that exist now, and fear that this might further affect them. So I vote no.
Senator West, Senator Westerfield, Senator Wilson, and Chairman Howe.
Aye.
Thank you, committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. 6 yes, 1 no.
I got a message.
Passes with how many?
6 yes, 1 no.
This bill passed with 6 yes votes and 1 no vote. Shall be moved along. Thank you. Next up, we have Senator Webb with Senate Bill 101. There is a local mandate on this bill that's in everybody's folders, and I believe there is a committee sub on this as well.
Yes, and, but we just.
So we have a committee sub here. Do we have a motion on the sub?
Motion.
There's a motion by Senator Webb. Is there a second? There's been a second by Senator Chambers Armstrong. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. The bill as amended by the committee sub is all yours, Senator Webb.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to just say one word change in the committee sub. Just clarifies it's public health and safety in section 2 to make sure that that applies to humans. And today, I'm honored to be before the committee. I filed this bill before, and it's I can't take credit for the idea because it's a national model that I work with the Cavalry Group, which is a national association to assist private property owners, animal owners throughout this country for attacks on right to private property and utilization and ownership of animals. Some of those members are here with me today. Sean Went owns a zoo animal exhibit, and Linda Baird from Harrodsburg has some exotic animals. And they're members of the group that I work closely with. And whether it's from L.A., banning rodeos, to New York, banning carriage horses, to St. Louis, same issue, to Nashville, even had to go down there on some city council thoughts that they had on animal participation. And Kentucky being the horse capital of the world and the beef cattle, largest beef herd, among other things, David Beck's here today from the Kentucky Exposition Center. We host the North American Livestock. We host the World Championship Saddlebred Show, and just a variety of things throughout this Commonwealth involving showing animals, utilizing animals for entertainment and profit. And that's why this is an agritourism bill, because it certainly affects tourism and the state bottom line. And this is a preventive measure, but like I said, I'm as an attorney and someone who's in the horse industry and the cattle industry, I've worked with groups throughout the country as a lawyer and policymaker on these issues that are coming up more and more as ownership interest in animals are attacked, even domestic animals, and measures that would inhibit a dog show or something of that nature. So municipalities have been doing that, and that y'all probably heard me say before. It's an avenue now for animal. We're all for animal welfare, but animal rights. This is an avenue for animal rights advocates to utilize to deter ownership and utilization of animals. Our municipal ordinance. And it's happening throughout the country, and we don't really need it to happen here. So this measure would preempt municipalities from limiting those events with some condition and protect working animals and those of us who depend on them and enjoy them in our pursuits, our cultural heritage and our historic pursuits. And we still have to comply with state, commission standards and those things, which we have been very progressive with, and having those livestock commission standards that we have based on science, based on experts, and not just the whim of good feeling. So I would ask if there's any questions. I've got backup here today, and I've got people with skin in the game, and I would be glad to entertain any questions or concerns that committee may have.
Thank you, Senator Webb. I believe Senator Thayer had a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've read through your committee sub, and I agree with the premise of the bill. Does this have any effect on the primary driver behind Kentucky's position as horse capital of the world, and that is thoroughbred, standardbred, and quarter horse racing?
I think it certainly protects those pursuits, an additional level of protection in case, and you've seen that in closing of tracks and attacks on working animals in more liberal jurisdictions.
I have.
And we don't want that coming here.
We don't. So do you feel like your definition on line 7, animals and entertainment, covers horse racing and the protections afforded by this bill? It would be line 9.
Yes, line 9. It's section 7.
Section 7, line 9.
I do. And in field trials and any time that you have a working animal, whether it's what Lord put them here to do and they enjoy doing. So I think it certainly does. I know horse shows. We had an issue in a large metropolitan area that was banning horse shows from a venue, and it wasn't that far away from us. So
I just wonder thank you, Mr. Chairman, if I can follow up.
Yes.
Thank you, Senator Webb. I just wonder if we need to get more specific in section 1 of the bill down there.
I would certainly
line 17 through 20 if we want to add.
We can talk about that, and if we can put in specific language. I have no problem with any floor amendment along those lines.
Let's talk about that later, but thank you very much. Motion on the bill.
There's been a motion by Senator Thayer, second by Senator Wilson. If there's no more discussion, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Chambers Armstrong, Senator Boswell, Senator Carpenter, Senator Deneen,
Aye.
Senator Gibbons, Senator Thayer,
Aye.
Senator Webb,
Aye.
Senator West, Senator Westerfield, Senator Wilson, and Chairman Howe.
Aye.
It passes.
Thank you. The bill passes 8-0. Thank you, Senator Webb, for bringing that. Last but certainly not least, Senator Meredith, please move forward. Senate Bill 118. Introduce yourself for the record, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Steve Meredith, the State Senator for the 5th District. And reflecting back on my 8 years, I think this is just the second time I've appeared before the Agriculture Committee, so it certainly is an honor and a privilege to be here. We joke a lot in our legislature about simple little bills. And we know that they're out there Sasquatch and unicorns if we don't find them, but this may break the mold. This is a simple little bill. What's asking for that in lieu of trespassing signs on private property, that the property owners can use purple paint to designate their boundaries. And this is done in 22 other states. Each of the border states to our Commonwealth already have this law in place. And, it helps protect our agricultural community so they don't have to replace no trespassing signs, which can be quite frequent. In researching this bill, I found it interesting that I wasn't aware of this, but about 1,000 people in this country are shot and killed in hunting accidents each year because people don't know boundaries. And that's not including what cattle could possibly be killed by hunting accidents as well. So again, it's very straightforward. This is what the bill asks for. There is a committee sub on this, I believe, Mr. Chair. There should be.
I do not see a committee sub on here.
Well, in speaking to staff yesterday, I was assured this was going to come to your committee, but if I could speak to what the sub is on the bill that you have.
You can talk about what it was proposed, but we don't have anything to
okay.
incorporate and adopt at
On the
this
bill
point.
you have received, it says on line 18, section 3, it says any owner or leasee who marks his or her real property using the methods described in subsection 2 of the section shall also provide clear written notice forbidding entry. Well, I have to admit, I kind of took the lazy approach on this legislation. The constituent brought it to my attention said this was filed in 2018. I don't know why it didn't pass at that time, but I asked the bill to be drafted the same. But in discussion with some of my colleagues, particularly Senator Boswell here, noted that that's kind of redundant. If we're using purple paint to designate no trespassing, then why do you need written signs as well? So that line in the committee sub is to be deleted.
Okay, that's something maybe we can address in a floor amendment or something at an appropriate time. Any questions that anyone has on this? Senator Boswell?
Well, thank you, Senator Meredith. When it comes to health care issues and other issues up here, I strongly depend on Senator Meredith for his expertise. Unfortunately, this happens to be one area that I am very, very familiar with, having dealt with for many, many years about problems with trespassing. Now, it's my understanding under the current law that there is no requirement for signs. That was done away with several years ago, at least in my areas. The game wardens will enforce trespassing laws if you don't have them. Now, I have several concerns about this. One is I'm not sure what is the impetus for the. So my first question is: are there sportsmen's groups that are advocating this? And can you give us just a description of who exactly is it? Is it just a constituent, or is there a group of sportsmen around the state that are advocating for this?
No, this is a constituent who is a hunter and hunts in multiple states. So he's also a small farmer. So no constituent group came to me. As a matter of fact, since it's been filed, the only remarks I've received regarding this is one said that I wasn't aware that 8% of the male population is colorblind and they can't see purple. So, could it be a different color? Well, again, 22 states have it this color. And the other was, I want to know if we can have a variation of purple because they didn't think it would look good on their particular property. So that's the extent of it.
Mr. Chairman. And so is there anything within the current law that prohibits a landowner from marking their property with purple?
Not that I'm aware of, but, I think this kind of gives some validity to it. I think it's every sportsman's obligation to know where they are on somebody's property, but this helps them identify those areas. So this isn't a shall, this is a may. You can still post no trespassing signs, but again, I think it helps the agriculture community by not having to constantly replace those signs.
Well, I certainly believe that it's a sportsman's responsibility to know where you are when you're not on somebody's property. Today, we have a lot of sportsman's app, like Onyx, for example. It clearly shows you when you're on someone else's property. I think I'm very concerned about this, and I tell you why, and I'll shut up. Is that when you go and you start marking properties, then that essentially tells people that are out there looking to trespass that properties that are not marked are then available to be trespassed upon, just based on my own experience. And so what that means is this is going to essentially, over a period of time, require people who don't necessarily want to do the purple paint to also mark theirs. And I think that you've got some good intentions here, but I'm going to have to oppose this bill.
Well, again, Senator, this doesn't require people to have to mark their property.
Yes, sir.
But it's, I think, a convenience to the hunting community, and does provide some security to landowners, particularly farmers, to just kind of put people on notice. And if somebody, violation trespassing laws, and they're asked, did you see this? Well, they knew or should have known. And I'm hoping groups like Kentucky Farm Bureau and our Fish and Wildlife Commission will do some public and service announcements to let people know here's the intent of this.
Well, I will say one more thing. I am involved with a lot of sportsmen throughout the state, and I have not had anybody that I've talked to that's necessarily thinking that they're in support of this bill. So I think it could be a hindrance to landowners and farm owners. So that's my last.
Anyone else have any questions? I have a couple of comments on this bill. I want to thank you for bringing it at this point in my life as a social hunter, but as a land owner. I think this will help a lot. Here's what I like about this bill and appreciate your effort on it. When I go to take a friend of mine out to show them where to hunt and not hunt, we have to go and find trees in the woods to use as landmarks. There's probably all sorts of jokes about that. But if I can go to my farms and mark the boundary with this purple paint, then I don't have to tell them. I can give them a rough approximation. I don't know anybody now that doesn't hunt with a phone as well, to Senator Boswell's comment. But it's a lot easier to just be able to look and see the paint. And we have this already in place with the way timber cruising and everything is used for marking trees. I think it'll be real clean and convenient. And I think what we'll see, kind of to another one of Senator Boswell's points, this is one of those statutes that I think can help separate good actors from bad actors. With those people that want to stay on the right side of the line, literally and figuratively, this will help define where that line is, and I just appreciate you bringing it. If there's no more comments on this, Madam Secretary, please call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we'd already motioned this. We were fast on the motions on it. Motion by Senator Nadine. Second by Senator Thayer. Now, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Chambers Armstrong, Senator Boswell, Senator Carpenter, Senator Deneen, Senator Givens, Senator Thayer, Senator Webb.
I'm going to vote aye to get it out of here. I'm going to look at it further and see if there's anything additional, but I'll talk to the sponsor if that's the case. Thank you.
Senator West, Senator Westerfield, Senator Wilson, and Chairman Howe.
Aye. This bill passes out of committee 7-1. Senator Meredith, thank you for bringing it. That's all we have on the agenda. Before we adjourn. Yeah. Fine. Senator Carpenter, I believe you were absent temporarily.
I was absent in a meeting, but I'd want to be shown as aye on Senate Bill 193.
Okay, we'll let the record reflect
Appreciate that.
Thank you. With no further action for the committee, we stand adjourned.